There is no doubt that the ladies of the British royal family are known for their wonderful tiaras, a remnant of a more formal, glitzier time where royals don jewels for everything from parties to concerts, nowadays mainly state occasions, royal weddings and coronations. So in this video I thought I'd go through 40 of the British royal family's most exquisite tiaras, a bit of the brief history around it, and who the current or former wearer is. Now, just to preface this before we dive in, there are some tiaras that the royal family own but they haven't worn, and some tiaras worn by the royal family but not owned, but whatever the case, they are stunning nevertheless. So the first tiara we're going to take a look at today is known as the Girls of Great Britain and Ireland tiara. Now, this is famously the late Queen Elizabeth II's favourite and most worn tiara, and it was originally created for Queen Mary of Teck. The tiara was commissioned as a gift by a committee of aristocratic women who called themselves the Girls of Great Britain and Ireland, hence the name, and of course the former wearer of this tiara was Queen Elizabeth II. Now, we've already started with a hell of a great one. That one is one of my personal favourites as well, but the next one we come on to is the Cambridge Lover's Knot tiara, which was also commissioned by Queen Mary of Teck and has got a bit of action over the years, being worn by Queen Mary, then the Queen Mother, Queen Elizabeth II, Diana the Princess of Wales, and currently Catherine the Princess of Wales, who really enjoys wearing this one as well. The current wearer, of course, as I just mentioned, is the Princess of Wales, and Catherine can be seen here wearing this tiara for the Royal Gala celebrating King Charles III. Sticking with the theme of Catherine the Princess of Wales, the next one we have is the Cartier Halo tiara, which was made famous when it was worn by Kate on her wedding day to Prince William, with this Cartier piece originally created in 1936. It is made of diamond scrolls, hence why it is sometimes also called the Cartier Scroll tiara, and it was the chosen tiara for Princess Margaret to wear to her sister Queen Elizabeth II's coronation as well, making it extra special. And the current wearer, of course, is Catherine the Princess of Wales. Next we have Queen Mary's Diamond Bandeau tiara. Now again, this was commissioned by Queen Mary of Teck, and she was rumoured to have this tiara created to house a brooch that she was given, which acts as the central diamond of the tiara. And the structure of this, how the actual structure of this tiara works, is that it is broken up into 11 different sections, which make it very flexible and is set in platinum. Meghan Markle brought it out of the vaults after 65 years to wear it on her wedding day, famously. And of course that makes her the former wearer of this tiara. Now the next one we have is Queen Mary's Fringe tiara. Now again, coming in with another one from Queen Mary of Teck. This is another Kokoshnik style tiara, and the fringe piece, named because of its spires, was made for Queen Mary of Teck, and the then Princess Elizabeth wore it on her wedding day. It was also worn by Princess Anne for her wedding in 1973 and by Princess Beatrice for her wedding in 2020. So this tiara has seen a lot of use at royal wedding days, but of course the most famous former wearer is Queen Elizabeth II, then Princess Elizabeth. Now we're coming on to a tiara that wasn't commissioned by Queen Mary of Teck, and this is the Lotus Flower tiara, and this instead was made from a necklace given to the future Queen Mother, and has a distinct lotus motif. Both Queen Elizabeth and Princess Margaret wore it regularly, and it is now worn by Catherine the Princess of Wales, who acts as its current wearer. Next up is another one relating to the Queen Mother, and this is the Greville Emerald Kokoshnik tiara, made for the Honourable Mrs. Ronald Greville in 1919, and she then passed it on to Elizabeth the Queen Mother sometime in the 1940s. It went unseen for decades until Princess Eugenie of York wore it on her wedding day, and it incorporates rose-cut diamonds in a Kokoshnik-style arc with 6 emeralds, and the centre emerald is rumoured to weigh 93 carats, and so the current wearer is Princess Eugenie of York. Sticking to the York theme, we're coming on to the York Diamond Tiara, which doesn't have too much of a history because it was actually a bit of a surprise move that the royal family had this brand new tiara made for royal bride Sarah Ferguson when she married into the family. It was made by Garrard, and Sarah the Duchess of York is of course the former wearer. Now we're coming on to one that has a bit more of a rich history, and this is the Grand Duchess Vladimir tiara, created for Grand Duchess Maria Pavlovna of Russia, and this tiara is made up of 15 diamond circles interlinked. The hanging pearls can be swapped out also for diamonds or emeralds, and the former wearer was Queen Elizabeth II. The next tiara was commissioned by Queen Elizabeth II in 1973, and it is called the Burmese Ruby Tiara. It is using rubies and diamonds taken from dismantled tiaras and necklaces, and has a distinctive floral pattern made especially for Queen Elizabeth II, but it has also been more recently worn by Queen Camilla as well, so they are both former and current wearers. Now we have another tiara that was created for Queen Mary of Teck. She seems to be quite rampant in her tiara commissioning, but this is the Gloucester Honeysuckle Tiara, and it is quite a large tiara. It's made to have also an interchangeable centre where a brooch or a jewel can be placed. So Queen Mary of Teck seems to have commissioned ones that have quite interesting systems where they can be interchanged with different options. The current wearer of this tiara is Birgit, the Duchess of Gloucester. Next we have another rather large tiara. This is the Delhi Durbar tiara, one of the biggest in the collection, and is a combination of platinum and gold featuring lyres, scrolls and festoons, and this was made for Queen Mary to wear to the Delhi Durbar on the 12th of December 1911, which was a gigantic ceremonial and military gathering which marked King George V's succession as King Emperor of India, and its original construction with 10 large emeralds were matching the other jewellery that Queen Mary was wearing at the Delhi Durbar, where she had diamond and emerald jewellery. The current wearer of this Delhi Durbar tiara is Camilla, Queen Consort. Coming on to another that is related to India, it's called the Cartier Indian Tiara, which is another huge piece filled with sapphire, diamond and pearls, originally owned by Princess Marie-Louise, one of Queen Victoria's granddaughters, and it was supposedly constructed in the early years of the 20th century, perhaps in the years following the annulment of her marriage, and it is called the Indian Tiara not because of any specific connection to that nation, but instead because it mimics traditional Indian designs. Princess Marie-Louise wore the tiara at major royal events, including the 1953 coronation, and after her death in 1956 it was inherited by her godson Prince Richard of Gloucester, and it is now worn by his wife Birgit, who occasionally brings it out at state banquets. Next up is the modern sapphire tiara, which originally belonged to Princess Louise of Belgium in 1858, and Queen Elizabeth II then bought this tiara to add to her collection, making her the former wearer. The next tiara is another one worn regularly by Queen Mary of Teck, and it is called the Cambridge Sapphire Parure. Originating from the early 1800s, this tiara is made from sapphires and diamonds, and as I say was worn regularly by Queen Mary, and it has also been worn by Princess Marina and the Duchess of Kent as well, so they are all former wearers. Next up we have the Festoon tiara, which is a privately owned tiara given to Princess Anne by a shipping company in 1973. Her daughter-in-law Autumn Phillips wore it on her wedding day, so the current wearer is Anne, Princess Royal. The Aquamarine Pine Flower Tiara is one of the lesser worn tiaras, and this aquamarine piece was given to the Queen Mother by her husband King George VI. She then passed it on to Princess Anne, another one making Princess Anne the current wearer. This next one has a pretty special history and is called the George IV State Diadem. This special piece was made in 1820 for King George IV, and this diadem has been only worn by queens, commonly in procession to coronations and state openings of Parliament. It is also featured in many paintings and on stamps and currency, giving it this great symbolic power, and the fact that it's been worn by 5 queens so far: Queen Victoria, Queen Alexandra, Queen Mary, Queen Elizabeth II, and now Queen Camilla as well, is one of the more symbolic tiaras only worn by queens. So they are all former wearers, but of course the most recent is Queen Camilla. The Strathmore Rose Tiara, sometimes called the Queen Mother's Strathmore Tiara, was something that was only brought out of the royal vaults recently and was worn by Catherine the Princess of Wales in this great unveiling because it was not seen for years and it was stuck in the Windsor vaults. The tiara takes its name from the Queen Mother's family. Of course, before her royal marriage, she was Lady Elizabeth Bowes-Lyon, daughter of the Earl of Strathmore and Kinghorn. When she married the Duke of York in 1923, she wasn't yet destined to be queen, but her parents decided the new Duchess needed a new tiara regardless, And so they bought this great floral piece from a dealer based in London, and it was believed to be made in the late 19th century. And of course, at the state dinner at Buckingham Palace in honour of the South Korean president, the Princess of Wales wore it spectacularly. It was of course inherited by Queen Elizabeth II and had stayed in the royal vaults for decades, reportedly not being worn by a royal woman since the 1930s. Now, however, the rare diamond diadem has been given a new life by the Princess of Wales. Next is one of the smaller tiaras in the collection, known as the Cubitt Shan tiara, and this is worn by Queen Camilla. This piece has a strong nature theme and belonged to her grandmother Sonia Keppel, making of course her the current wearer. The Meander tiara, as you can tell by its Greek design, was originally owned by Princess Andrew of Greece. Of course, she was known as Princess Alice of Battenberg, but when she married Prince Andrew of Greece and Denmark in 1903, she adopted her husband's name and became Princess Andrew of Greece and Denmark, and this tiara belonged to her. Alice was, of course, Prince Philip's mother, and when Princess Elizabeth married Prince Philip, she gave it as a gift to Princess Elizabeth, who has since passed it down to Princess Anne, and then Zara Tindall famously wore it on her wedding day as well. The 5 Aquamarine tiara is rumoured to be part of a bigger set, and this tiara is somewhat of a mystery because it's not clear where it actually came from, so it doesn't have much of a history to explain, but its current wearer is Sophie, the Duchess of Edinburgh. The next is the Greville tiara, and this one has a bit of an interesting backstory. So it was designed for Mrs. Greville by Lucien Hertz in Paris in 1921 and was a complete overhaul of another diamond tiara from her collection, which had been made 20 years earlier. They used the diamonds from the original tiara to make this new modern diadem with an eye-catching geometric design, and then it was inherited from Mrs. Greville by Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother. It became one of her favourite tiaras and one of the most worn throughout her life, going to loads of state visits in this, and eventually it was left to Queen Elizabeth II, who, maybe not as much of a surprise, never wore her mother's diamond tiara. Maybe it had such an association to her mum for her, but then Queen Elizabeth passed it down when Camilla married into the family to her, and now Queen Camilla is the current wearer of the tiara. Queen Alexandra's Kokoshnik tiara was made for the silver wedding anniversary of Queen Alexandra in 1888, and this committee of 364 aristocratic ladies named the Ladies of Society actually raised money to have this Kokoshnik style tiara made, and it is created of up to 61 diamond bars. The former wearer, of course, was Queen Elizabeth II. Another lesser-known tiara is the Kent Diamond and Pearl Fringe tiara. This comb-style tiara was originally owned by, you would never have guessed, Queen Mary of Teck, but the current wearer is the Duchess of Kent. The Kent City of London Fringe tiara is another one relating to Kent, and as the name suggests, the City of London gave this tiara to Princess Marina on her wedding day. It features diamond spires set in gold, and the current wearer is Princess Michael of Kent. Of course, same as the one in Greece, taking the name of her husband, Prince Michael of Kent. The Teck turquoise tiara is another one unsurprisingly made for Queen Mary of Teck, and this huge turquoise tiara comes as part of a set that includes earrings, a necklace, rings and brooches, and has been passed down again to the Duchess of Gloucester. Next we have the Snowdon Floral tiara, which was made in 1994 using a set of 3 floral brooches that used to belong to Princess Margaret, and so this tiara, although not an official piece, is made from these diamond brooches mounted on a frame with green leaves, and Lady Sarah Chatto wore it for her wedding, making her the current wearer. The Ivar tiara was made as a gift to Queen Mary of Teck on the occasion of her wedding, given by the Lord and Lady Ivar, and it's made of diamond scrolls and leaves, with its current wearer also being the Duchess of Gloucester. So you'll see that a lot of Queen Mary's possessions have passed down to the Duchess of Gloucester. The Oriental circlet was made for Prince Albert's wife. He made it for his wife, Queen Victoria, in 1853. It is made up of mogul arches and lotus flowers in diamonds and rubies, and the late Queen Elizabeth II wore it only once, but it was a firm favourite of the Queen Mother. So the most recent former wearer was of course Queen Elizabeth II, but it was a favourite of the Queen Mother. Next is the Brazilian Aquamarine Perua tiara, another aquamarine one. The history of this is that it comes as part of a set gifted to Queen Elizabeth II for her coronation in 1953 by the President of Brazil. It is made up of emerald-cut aquamarines and diamonds, making the former wearer, of course, Queen Elizabeth II. The next tiara is the one that Sophie the Duchess of Edinburgh wore at her wedding, and it is known as the Anthemian Wedding Tiara, though I'm not sure if that's the official name, but it's known as that, and it was given to Sophie by her husband for her wedding, and is rumoured to have been created from another dismantled necklace or tiara, and of course the current wearer is Sophie the Duchess of Edinburgh. The Ogilvy tiara is a floral bandeau and can be made into a larger tiara. It was made for Princess Alexandra of Kent, and her granddaughter Flora Vesterberg also wore it to her wedding, so they are both current/former wearers. Queen Mary's Boucheron loop tiara uses a collection of 675 diamonds given to her by De Beers. Queen Mary commissioned this out of these diamonds to make the looped tiara, and is currently unworn by any members of the modern royal family. The Teck Crescent tiara was originally owned by Princess Mary Adelaide, the Duchess of Teck, which is Queen Mary of Teck's mother, and was made up of diamond crescent moons and has a stacked band, and is also currently unworn. The Surrey Fringe is a spire-based tiara and was a gift to Queen Mary of Teck by the County of Surrey, but was later dismantled. Its diamonds were used to form part of the Girls of Great Britain and Ireland tiara that I mentioned right at the beginning, so of course it used to be worn but is now being dismantled. Another tiara that was sadly dismantled is known as the Nizam of Hyderabad tiara, as if I've said that right, but as its name suggests, this tiara was given to Princess Elizabeth on her wedding day by Nizam of Hyderabad, and it was later dismantled to make another tiara, although the exact history of that is not entirely known. The next tiara is the Kent Festoon tiara, and this was worn by Princess Marina, the Duchess of Kent, in the early 1900s and given by her husband, the Duke of Kent. It's made of swirling diamond patterns and has a removable pearl band, making the current wearer the Princess Michael of Kent, passed down to Prince Michael of Kent from his mother. The Persian turquoise tiara is often referred to as the Triumph of Love tiara, and this piece was made in 1900 by Garrard. Princess Margaret wore this tiara semi-regularly in her youth, and although it hasn't been worn since her death in 2002, it is rumoured to belong to her daughter, Lady Sarah Chatto, now. And coming on to the final tiara I have in my list here is the Wessex Aquamarine Necklace tiara, another aquamarine one, and is rumoured to have been bought for Sophie the Duchess of Edinburgh by her husband's family, making her of course the current wearer of this tiara. So that was my list of 40 of the most exquisite British royal family tiaras. Let me know what your favourite one was. Mine is either the very first one, or I like the George IV State Diadem as well. That's a really nice one. But let me know yours. I will also have hopefully been putting the value of each tiara as they come up on the screen throughout the video, so hopefully I've done that properly, as I know people are always intrigued to know the value of these things. But yes, so let me know what you thought of this video in the comments down below. Make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed. I also have a Patreon and a membership on my channel now, and you get a few perks on there, and also helps to support me make more videos. But as always, you just watching to the end is amazing for me. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.